pros are here, I'm here, and noob cyclists are here. So hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now something special for you today. A non-bootleg version of the new Sram Red group set on this stunning Look 795. There's some really good things about this group set, and there's some really quite annoying things about this group set. The throwaway power meter, they've been doing that for years and I just can't believe they're still doing it. So frustrating. I'd be down 1,200 quid in chain rings by now if my cork was stuck to the chain rings. The brakes are absolutely amazing. The power from these brakes is game changing, I think. For 160s on the stock organic pads and rotors, I was going to put my neck out and say they're better than Shimano brakes. However, the hoods leave a lot to be desired. The reach, the small hands. It's only 14 degrees today. Look how baggy these hoods are. They're already gone soft. Imagine if it was 30, 40 degrees in UAE or south of Spain or something. Thanks very much to Paul from Mapdec for lending me his rig to test this group set. Now we have got the front disc a nice straw colour, so I've been getting it hot, putting it through its paces. I'm not even using the back disc because I wanted to put as much heat into one disc as possible. So stay tuned and do click subscribe. I'll try and put a QR code here on the screen, so if you're sat down on your sofa drinking a beer, scan the QR code, no excuses now. It'll help me bring you more stuff like this. Unfortunately I've only got 11:30, but we'll come to the gear ratios and the selection and the availability in a minute because I think it's a little bit weird. I've got a 48-35 on the front, so still quite a tool in a ring for a small outer ring, and that's again one of the things I'll come on to in a minute. The infamous SRAM front mech's been really good so far. So let's start with the brakes, because I think that's probably the biggest change on the group set and the biggest improvement on the group set since the last one. The master cylinder and piston is now horizontal and it's got a direct connection to the pivot point on the lever. So there's a few less kind of mechanical losses in a linkage there. But the downside to making that piston horizontal is the hood, or the lever body's got a lot longer and it feels a lot longer. Certainly feels longer than Shimano Dura Ace. Quite a lot longer, and certainly feels longer than the old SRAM Red. But they've done a lot of work on the ergonomics of the lever, which I quite like. If you put your hands on the hoods and you had a blindfold on, you'd probably think it was a Shimano hood, so that's a massive compliment. However, as you can see here, when I'm riding in the drops, and these are very, very compact drops, with no reach adjust. I mean, I haven't adjusted the reach. They do have reach adjust, I believe, but my index finger, and I don't have small hands, I can't get it round the front of the brake lever when I'm in the drops. Obviously there is reach adjust, and I think honestly people with small hands and females are really going to struggle with these levers without turning the reach adjust all the way in, because they are very far, and you can see how far away from the drops they are in the default position. Obviously there's bike point adjust and reach adjust, like I said, but I think smaller riders are really going to struggle. You can comfortably get, you know, 3 fingers, even 4 fingers on the lever body. It's absolutely huge. It's slimmed down, but it's absolutely huge, and it's a very long way from the drop. See, if I put my index finger on there, and when I'm descending, I like to be kind of pre-engaged on the brakes, so I don't want the brakes dragging, but I like to have some free stroke there so I can quickly get the brakes and my hands got a good mechanical advantage. With these, it's a real stretch. It really needed to be brought in quite a lot for smaller hands. As you can see, I've turned this one a nice colour of blue and pale straw already, so we'll stick on the steel temper chart on screen and see how hot I've got that. They are remarkably powerful. I was quite surprised when I first got on the bike how powerful they were. I had to check they weren't code mountain bike brakes. Now, they are the stock pads and stock rotors. The rotors, these pinned floating rotors, they do wander when they get hot, so many outlets, paid reviews I've seen, have said there is no brake rub. Well, I disagree. I've got quite a lot of brake rub out of these already. Not sure if you can hear the front disc rub. And the pad clearance I wouldn't say is that much bigger than normal. Certainly not that much bigger than the latest 12-speed Shimano. But the power on offer is insane. They are very, very bitey, quite predictable, but they have a good grab straight off the first point of contact. So I'm really, really impressed with the power of the brakes. That's a massive step up from the old ones. Now, pad clearance, I wouldn't say is amazing. It's pretty tight, and obviously you'll always find on the rear brake you've got probably less pad clearance than you do on the front, and that's because the rear is a lot harder to bleed. It tends to trap a bit more air. There's just more compressibility in the rear brake line because it's a lot longer, so you always probably get a little bit less pad clearance on the back. But ironically, it's the front one that I've been struggling with, and you can see this hasn't gone a straw colour because I've been biasing the braking to the front to see if I can just get one brake as hot as I can to see the brake to its limits. But pad clearance, it does tick a bit because they are pinned rotors. I don't think they're, you know, perfectly floating rotors, but I still think they should be passing more heat to the Spider, the aluminium Spider. Don't know why, you know, more companies don't do that. But pretty impressed with the brakes overall. The power is insane. I just wish they were mineral oil, not dot brake fluid. Now, if you can see that B-screw on that mech, that's probably the longest stock B-screw on a mech I've ever seen. And I've gone on to this before about SRAM reducing their part count and inventory and simplifying and being lean. For a road mech that's on a road bike, you want the highest chain efficiency possible. This feels like a mountain bike clutch. It's super stiff, that lower cage. Compare it to a Shimano Dura Ace lower cage. Obviously, you can see this bike doesn't have a chainstay protector on it, and this has not slapped the chainstay once. So when you're coasting, this is a very, very stiff spring, and that pulling the chain tension back is going to add a bit more drivetrain friction. Now, the purists, the Shimano Dura Ace Dan Bighams of the world, won't like that, but my feeling is that SRAM is just doing their part number, part count reduction plan again, and they're keeping common parts from this, I think they call it fluid dampening system or orbital fluid damper or something like this. It's probably a common part with the Explore group set and the Gravel group set. So there's no reason not to do that. I mean, most people are not going to notice like the fractions of a watt difference in a bit more chain tension on the bottom, but it does make for a much quieter bike. I don't think this is the silly kind of clutchy, slippy jockey wheel like they have on the mountain bike one. I think it looks the same, but it's just, yeah, it's a solid one. It doesn't have that kind of one-way bearing on the edge. Derailleur, pretty standard from SRAM. You've got a big kind of cast or forged aluminium body, and this bar is sort of carbon injected nylon. I think quite high content of carbon by the look of it. Quite a nice marbled finish. But yeah, 10 to 30 cassette on here, not my choice. First of all, the 10 tooth, I've never liked that on SRAM group sets. It's noisy, it's inefficient, and the shear loading on the teeth, when they're that small, and there's not that many sharing the chain tension, is huge. Second of all, the choice of chain rings. I don't like how close the ratio is between the big chainring and the small chainring. So this is a 48-35. Now we compare that to a Shimano Compact, which would be a 50-34. It's still quite a tall, quite hard inner ring for quite a small outer ring, and I don't know if they do that because they're not confident with the front mech shifting, you know, a larger jump than that. That's the cynic in me saying that, or I don't know why they do that. But basically, this goes up to this is a flagship road group set, right? This goes up to a 36 maximum cog on the back. Now with this 35, you've only got then a gear ratio of only just better than 1-to-1, and I think in this day and age, with the modern mechs and what they can handle, that's pretty poor. Like, you should be able to get a bigger cassette on the back. Now, yes, you could swap this out for the Explore derailleur. Now, I don't know why they just didn't use the Explore derailleur on this group set. Like, if SRAM are all about, you know, simplifying part count, leaning the stuff out, just get rid of this derailleur, just use the Explore group set, because that will go up to a 44 tooth. Now, there's really no downside of having a slightly longer cage. Yeah, it might add like 10-15 grams, but if you're not using it, there's no downside. So you can still use a 1030 with the longer cage Explore derailleur, and there's really no downside. You just set the chain length to what you want to run, and you could have 2 chains at home instead of 2 mechs at home. So if you really wanted to go big on the back here, they should just use the Explore group set. I don't know why they've limited this to 1136, and on this combo, where you want quite a big gear, the 48, which isn't that big, a keen racer or you're bombing it on pace lines, that's not that hard. So
I don't know if I've explained that very well, but to summarise, the outer's too small, the inner's too big, and even with the 36, a 35-36 isn't that much of a small gear. Now I know, like Jesse and Chris on the Nero show, you know, they are here, pros are here, I'm here, and noob cyclists are here. So they might be all right with a 1-to-1 gear ratio, but if you truly want to ride zone 2 everywhere, even up steep climbs, you need bigger than that. So if I was buying this group set, I'd buy it in the modular fashion, and I wouldn't buy this mech, I'd buy the Explore kind of gravel mech, just to get a bigger range, because there's no penalty. There's literally no penalty. If you've got a long enough cage to deal with the chain slack, there's no penalty. So the front shifting, I'm pleasantly surprised by it, to be fair. I thought there was a chance this new SRAM Red might be won by, and I was about to throw all my toys out the pram and have a good laugh at SRAM for doing that. I'm not saying that's not coming in the future. I do think they will go down that route in the future. I think they're having one last stab at the front mech, but this shifts really, really well. Obviously, between the 48 and the 35, like I said before, that's quite a short jump. It's not that difficult. It shouldn't be that difficult for them to achieve that. I hate using both hands to shift the front mech. That's one thing I've never liked about SRAM, using both your left and your right hand to shift. Historically, I suspect that's so you don't have a free hand to record how shit the mech shifts. But actually, this shifts really, really well. It is quite sluggish under load, but I mean, all front mechs, you're not supposed to be cranking them under load. I wouldn't say it's as good as Shimano, but it's very, very close, and it's really, really silent. So I'm quite impressed with that. And overall, comparing, you know, this to Shimano, just another thing, it, you know, fully wireless is definitely the way to go. Just the efficiency of the setup, the cleanliness of it all, and the ease of installation. If you're traveling with a bike, fully wireless, you just can't beat it. And that's one thing, you know, Shimano still haven't done. Now, it's not very warm out today. It's only about 14 degrees. You imagine if it was 30 or 40 degrees in south of Spain or UAE or something, and this rubber gets extra baggy. Look how baggy it is at the moment. Just by gripping, that is really poor on a top end group set. That is piss poor. Look, it feels like it's been used for 3 years already. Now with the Shimano ones, they're just so tight, they look like they're part of the moulding, and you can still get them off when you need to change them, but this is piss poor. Like, there's one thing Shimano has got in its trump card, it's the hoods, because these are, although the shape of these hoods is really nice, they're just too baggy. I just feel like they've been used for, you know, 10,000 K already. The other thing I'll mention before I forget is the power meter. Obviously it's based on the Quark. They don't call it a Quark anymore, I don't think. It's just called SRAM power meter, but that's been very good. Connected straight away, no problems. They're very reliable. Quark are known for their reliability. However, when the power meter, when the chain rings get worn, it's 400 quid for a new set of chain rings if you've got the power meter option. I think it's 400 quid, it might be more. Now, if you look at my Quark on my road bike, I've had that 6 years. I've gone through 3 pairs of front chain rings. So I'd be down for about 1,200 quid in chain rings because I'm replacing the power meter every time. That's ridiculous.